What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to the channel. Now, I gotta say right up front, this video is super early, as this character is just not set up fully. It is far from where I want him to be. However, I have been getting tons and tons of requests of how I build my rogue. I've been having really good luck with the rogue. I've been having a lot of fun playing the rogue, and the rogue is an absolute beast of a machine. And this is what I've been working on. Now, first off, when you're building out your rogue, you have to understand how the fusion sets and builder stats work on the rogue. Fortify is going to extend how long one of your devices is up. Power is a direct modifier for the device. Range has no effect, and defense rate is going to affect the cooldown of the device. Now, with this in mind, you've only got 3 devices. You've got your arcing device, your noxious device, and your napalm device. Now, these are the only 3 items that the rogue has that's going to be affected by those builder stats. So with that in mind, the only sets of fusion gear that you're going to possibly ever want for your rogue is either Ancient, Guard, or Militia. Now, I chose to go with Militia, as the napalm device is the hardest hitting per second of all of the devices, so I decided to set up the napalm device. Now, this is the 3rd defense, so to speak, which means you would want a Militia set. Now, I did add in the Arcanist set of gear, which does also convert my very first defense, or my arcing device, over to fusion as well. And it also fills in the gaps to complete the regular Militia set. This allows me to have 2 different devices that are both running fusion damage. I've got my napalm device, and then I've got my arcing device. Both of these are going to be running fusion damage and are going to be able to hit and do damage to all enemies. So with this setup, I've got 2 of the 3 devices for the rogue as fusion damage. Now remember, fusion damage also does double damage to any rifted enemies, and every enemy in rifted mode is now a rifted enemy, so it's going to do double damage to every single enemy in the game mode that you're playing, assuming you're playing rifted mode, of course. Outside of rifted mode, the only rifted enemies are bosses, so you're still going to do double damage to the bosses outside of rifted mode. For both weapons, I directly went right from the keep, and I gotta say, I'm not happy with the passive rolls on either of these weapons. However, I did get a sword and a bow right from the keep, so I'm using the Wolfsbane Sniper and the Wolfsbane Smasher. Now, the main thing you're going to want on both of these items is a chance to irradiate. You want this on both items. The reason being is if you proc Irradiate with your melee attack, it is going to trigger the Irradiate from your melee attack and your bow. With that in mind, if you proc Irradiate from your ranged attack, it's going to trigger the Irradiate from your weapon and your bow as well. Now, this, I'm assuming, could potentially be a bug. I'm not sure if this is intended how it works, but it's so much damage stacking that you really do not want to avoid not having Irradiate on a piece. You just want Irradiate on both pieces until they make some sort of a change to the system. Now, how you play your rogue depends on how you're going to gear your rogue. I personally am never really going to use my rogue in melee. So what I'm looking for in my melee weapon is things that will buff my ranged attack. So for me, the ideal passives would be to have the chance to Irradiate, of course, and then something along the lines of just a straight stat boost, like maybe this 524 attack that's on this sword here. So chance to Irradiate and then the attack stat, for me personally, would be the ideal passives to have. Now, additionally, you want to make sure you've got your available stats that you want. Now, you've got Vitality, Attack, and Ability, and ideally you want all 3 of these on both of your weapons. However, RNG is cruel. We all know this. And If you're going to give up one of them, I decided to give up the ability. So, like, I've got only vitality and attack on this sword, and it's because I haven't found a sword that I like that has all 3 stats. Now, I do have a bow with all 3 stats, and this is bringing me along to the set bonus between the 2 items. You see, I'm using Inspired Assault. Inspired Assault is just a raw, straight 20% damage increase. It's a very generic weapon set as far as a set bonus goes. However, it's going to work on everybody, and it's relatively easy to put together, so that is the set that I personally went with. So Inspired Assault with chance to irradiate on both items, and then ideally all 3 hero stats, Vitality, Attack, and Ability. Now you see I have stability on both of these items, one when I pick up mana and the other just regular stability. This is not by choice at all. Stability is going to reduce your chances of being knocked back, or reduce the force of knockbacks on you. These are both passives that I personally don't feel like I need. However, they came on the items, and it's the best items I've found so far, so you've got to go with what you got. And then taking a look at the accessories. Now, for accessories, I am having just an absolute terrible drought with bracers right now. As you see, these bracers I didn't even upgrade because they're just the wrong bracers. So these bracers are just filling a slot and giving me a little additional stat. They're doing absolutely nothing for me, and they're just, you know, having range as a passive on it on a character that gets no benefit from range. It's just awful. So these bracers are just filling a hole here. So any set of bracers is going to be better than this. Now, ideally, on all of your accessories, you're going to want Fortify, Rate, and Power in a perfect situation. As you see, I do not have those on any of these. Remember that the rogue does not benefit from range at all. What I'm mainly looking for on these items is that HP regen. You see, restores a percentage of max HP every second, 2.33%. I've also got another 2.73% HP regen here, and I would also want more HP regen here. Now, your accessories are going to be the same thing. You can also get a stat roll on them, so I think I personally, if I could find something with a really good HP regen percentage, and additionally had a very good mana regeneration rate, I think I would take that as the 2 preferences that I would prefer. So although this is not an ideal piece, those 2 passives are pretty decent passives. Now, if I was going to take anything else, I think I would want the HP regen and then maybe a stat, ideally attack, the attack stat. Now, on my particular rogue, I'm using the devices, I'm using the ranged attack, I'm not using the melee attack at all, and periodically I will use our Carnage or Spin to Win, just because it's so dang fun. However, this rogue is not even remotely set up for it. Now, I do use the movement abilities on the rogue quite frequently. I almost spam both of them quite often, actually, and I do use stealth a lot, so the ability stat is going to lower your cooldown of stealth, so definitely want to have some ability in the mix. As you see, mine is absurdly low just because of the way RNG has treated me. However, the lower your ability, the lower your cooldown on stealth, so that is extremely important if you're going to be using stealth regularly, which I think you will on the rogue. Now, as far as a pet goes, you're going to get the best possible damage out of a prop cat. So getting a good propeller cat, they're going to go up to 160% damage boost, plus you want one with 4 max targets for when you're playing in a group, and you'll want one with all 3 hero stats, Vitality, Attack, and Ability. Now, this is definitely the choice for me. You could go with a giraffe as well. You're not going to get anywhere near as much power or DPS out of a giraffe. However, you will have an absurd amount of health, will basically be unkillable, and additionally, you're going to give yourself that 5% additional versatility, which is the builder bonus for every other hero in your deck. So that 5% versatility is just good stuff. and that would be the main reason to play the Giraffe. However, for just raw DPS, I personally am going with the Prop Cat. Now, what about the damage output? What kind of damage do you get? Well, it's pretty good, particularly when Irradiate procs. Now, the damage you see here on the dummy is not going to be accurate damage, because remember, Irradiate is the damage is based off of the percentage of health of the target. Now, the dummy, of course, has ridiculous health, so our DPS is going to be blown through the roof. And you see it's going to easily get well over 100 million, 119 million, 133 million, 144, etc. It's just big, big damage. Now, that's not the same damage you're going to get out in the matches. However, Irradiate on both of those items is just absolutely beast. So you definitely want Irradiate on your main hand and your offhand on your rogue. Now, you do want to stack as much survivability as you can. So in stats, I went straight up Vitality. Now, I'm starting to get to a point where I could probably take some of these points out. If I did, I would probably go into attack with them just to increase my raw DPS output. However, you want to make sure you're surviving. Now, the rogue has a lot of survivability. The rogue has the stealth. The rogue has their own heal, which is an instant cast hot or heal over time, and that is just good stuff as well. Now, I went with the health regen on the accessories just because of how I personally play. So it depends on how you play. When I play the rogue, I like to run around the map. I like to take advantage of these movement abilities, which means I do get into packs of mobs, and I do get hit a lot. So the HP regen on your accessories is quite powerful and will really help you out. And in fact, the HP regen combined with your stealth and your normal heal is a touch on the OP side as far as survivability. You just have an amazing amount of survivability, and unless you get one shot by something, you're pretty much going to live. You're going to be able to survive just about any situation. Now, I will be doing a complete Rogue Hero Spotlight as soon as I get this character all decked out, and I also want to do a Spin to Win Rogue as well, where I'm focused on that Carnage ability. But even with the low setup that I have for Carnage, and I'm not spec'd for Carnage at all, it is extremely fun to use for clearing a lane, so I do use it quite often. And even with this extremely less than optimal setup, it still does really, really good damage. So if we take a look at Carnage here, it's ticking for, 39 million a pop, and this you can just roll down a lane with. Now, to keep this up 100% of the time, you're going to require an absolute ton of mana regen. So if you're looking to try to put together a Spin to Win build to keep it up all the time, the best way to do that is going to be to go with mana regen and additionally mana restore. Mana restore is going to give you mana every time you pick up build mana. So since you're going to be spinning to win down some lanes, you're going to be picking up build mana like crazy, and this is going to help your mana stay full. So for a Spin to Win rogue, you'd want to go full mana regen. For just roguing around and blasting with your devices and using stealth and just running around the map, for that you're going to want to go with health regen just to maintain the survivability. So like I said, as soon as I get a fine-tuned rogue, I will definitely be doing a spotlight on it. However, with all of the demand and folks asking, I figured I would just throw it out there what I've got so far, as this rogue, even though not in a fully optimal state, has been plenty good enough to clear all of the content available currently in the game. So the rogue is an absolute beast, is super fun to play, and I think you all will enjoy it. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see ya next time around. Take it easy.